Welcome to part 2 of my rant, stating my opinion on season 3 of Bridgerton. So, like I was saying, I was just sharing how I would have written it as someone who does write scripts and music and, what have you. Um, just things that even small plot points that I think would have improved it. I wouldn't have rewritten all of it. I think a lot of it was great, but there are certain plot points that I think took away from the story, took away from the characters, and just could have been left out or added in. So yeah, I mean, the first one was taking out the queen, barging into the wedding, and the second one was taking out Cressida, the whole blackmail plot. And either one of those, could have worked because both of them weren't needed because they served the same purpose when it comes to the story. When it comes to those types of things are tools that writers use to move the story along, to light a fire underneath the characters so that they have motivation to get to the next part of the story. They both serve the same purpose. They serve the purpose of Colin being upset with Penelope being forced by a lot of people in her life to give up Lady Whistledown, and so with that she puts her foot down and says no, and therefore people in her life get upset, especially Colin. Both of those things serve that purpose. Another purpose that both of those things serve is to push Penelope to reveal herself. So both of these things propel the story forward. So why did we need two of them? Why do we need two of those plot points? Why do we need two of those story tools? We didn't. So I mean, even if we did have both, like there was still places where they could have reconciled sooner, or they at least could have reconciled for long enough to give us a little bit more loved up Colin, or at least one more spicy scene or one more romantic scene. Like I mentioned in the previous video, even if we had both plot points and everything was written the same, we could have had them making up when he went into the bedroom and saw her in her nightgown. Like, that was such a amazing opportunity. And I understand why he stood his ground, because he's allowed to have his feelings, and he's gonna be a gentleman. He's not gonna fake being okay with his wife just because of his carnal appetites, if you will. Which I respected about Colin. I always have respected that about him and how they have written him, especially in the show. But overall, my 2 cents is I wish we had more Colin. I think they tried to do too much with all the storylines. I understand trying to push the narrative of a lot of characters forward can be difficult, but then Netflix needs to give them more episodes if that's something that needs to be done. From what I understand, they did request 10 episodes. That is just a rumor I heard. Like I said, I've worked in Hollywood. I have friends who still work in Hollywood. That's just a rumor. Please don't quote me on it. But it's also known that Netflix has been known to put kind of ridiculous limits on their creators and the creatives of their shows, and that's why so often things are abruptly canceled, or shows are lacking in areas because they're being kind of strangled by the network and not necessarily choosing to not write these stories well. I think they know what we want because they're just as big of fans of these stories as we are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be writing them. So, like I said before, don't be mad at Jess Brownell. Don't be mad at Shonda, or any of the writers for that matter, on Bridgerton, because we know they can write an amazing show. We've seen it done before. I know people are saying, oh, I don't know about Jess Brownell. This is her first season of being showrunner. We want Chris Van Dusen back. we don't know that it's her. We can only know for sure if season 4 is not so great, then we can for sure say it's her. But I think I personally know, and I think a lot of people who've loved Netflix shows know that Netflix can be kind of suffocating when it comes to the creative process and making shows the best that they can be. So yeah, like I said, I would have liked more Pollen. Penelope and Colin individually are two of my favorite characters from the books and also in the show, and together they have always been my favorite romance since I read the books. And again, in the show, the reason I keep saying books and the shows because yes, they're the same characters, but they are written extremely differently. And they are much younger than in their book. So that's another thing we have to take into consideration. When Colin is so upset, he's 22 in the show versus 31 in the book. And, anybody who's 30 and up knows that when you're 22 and you when you're 31 are two completely different people. But overall, I liked that Penelope, stuck to what she believed in, stood up for herself, and that is definitely something Colin instilled in her this season of just be yourself, be confident. But then when she went and did that, it was hard for him to not necessarily accept it, but it made him take a step back and be like, whoa, like I created this person that I see in front of me. I helped bring her out of her shell and be confident. But now when that confidence is used in a way that he doesn't necessarily agree with, he's like, this sucks. But overall, I think it was a beautiful season. I think they did a very good job. And I really do hope they release those rumored deleted scenes, because honestly I think it will fix everything everyone's complaining about when it comes to this season. We just wanted more Pollen, and that's the bottom line of really everyone's issues with part 2 in particular. We wanted more of the main couple. We wanted them making up a bit sooner, which again, don't necessarily agree with it, would have liked it. But if we're comparing to past seasons and, the kind of structure that Bridgerton has gotten known for, Daphne and Simon made up far later than, and had a way shorter scene in making up than Colin and Penelope did. So I'm not entirely sure what the issue is with that and this whole have them make up sooner, because our OGs didn't make up very quickly either. But overall, I think it's a beautiful season. The fact that we ended up with this at the very end was just chef's kiss. Perfect prologue, perfect ending for these two. And, for the people who say it was rushed, the season was almost ending anyway. So the season as in the marriage mark season was almost over anyway by the end of this season of the show. So I don't know what else y'all wanted. Picking up with them having a baby and Colin having written his book is amazing. And like I said, unless they were going to get 10 episodes, they weren't going to be able to fit it all in. So that's my 2 cents. Probably a lot more than 2. More like 50 cents. That was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. But, yeah, I think it was beautiful. I think if you rewatch it, you'll appreciate it a lot more. And we shall see if we get those extra scenes. But I say appreciate what we did get of Pollen, and you guys might just like it. Love you guys.